our new Space Coast Credit Union watchdog.
Watchdog.
The financial products and services you want, plus the protection you need. Space Coast Credit Union. Your life, your financial watchdog.
In the road heading into Monday night's game at the Los Angeles Rams. Let's hope they choose the right road. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of Dolphins Deep Dive with Perk. I am your host, Chris Perkins, your South Florida Sun Sentinel Miami Dolphins columnist. That is David Furones, your South Florida Sun Sentinel Miami Dolphins writer. Furones, it's election day, it's trade deadline, and it's my birthday. What means the most to you?
Your birthday, of course, Perk. Happy birthday. It's your, how many anniversary of your 21st birthday?
It would be the 27th anniversary, no, the 37th anniversary of my 21st birthday. So how's that?
Yeah, you didn't have to answer, but
that's cool. All right. I'm not ashamed, baby. I'm not ashamed. The doctor is surprised when they find out I'm only 58, but I'm doing all right so far. Doing all right. All right.
I wish you a happy birthday.
Yes, that's right. Hey, we welcome everybody watching us on YouTube. We invite you to leave your thoughts, your questions, your ideas on our live chat, the best place to find intelligent Dolphins conversation. Some of the questions we will answer right here. Others I will answer on a live online Q&A, or not a live online Q&A, a Q&A online article later on today. Also, we invite everybody to go to sunsentinel.com and vote in our weekly Dolphins poll. This week's question: should Miami concede this season and look ahead to next year? We also invite you to sign up for our weekly newsletter, Fans Flash, using the QR code on your screen. It keeps you updated with everything that I write, David Furones writes, and that Dave Hyde writes. And finally, we remind you, if you miss any part of this show, you can catch the podcast on Amazon, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcast. So, your Miami Dolphins visit the LA Rams this week. Dolphins have a 2-6 record. It's a Monday night game. Dolphins not really too good in primetime games under Mike McDaniel. We'll see what can change and what can happen from here with your Miami Dolphins. Also, we're going to discuss what's left to play for in the 2024 season. We've, of course, got our Furones bonus. It wouldn't be a show without that. And we will make our picks for the Dolphins-Rams game. So as we always say around here, there's an ocean of possibilities. Let's dive in. All right, so Furones, what is left to play for in 2024? Here's what I think. You've got to go for it. You don't make any big moves today at the trade deadline, 4 p.m. Eastern time. I don't think you make any huge additions. You certainly don't make any huge subtractions, and here's why. I don't think you're really out of this thing until you get your 9th loss. I think 9 and 8 might be able to get you into the playoffs. So I'm playing this whole thing out. You do still have a lot of talent on this team, right? You got Tua, you got Waddle, you got Tyreek, Teron Armstead is healthy. You've got a complement of running backs. Maybe Zach Sealer comes back this week. You still have Jalen Ramsey. There's still a lot to play for this season. I know the schedule is very challenging coming up. In fact, I don't think the Dolphins are going to make the playoffs, but you still have to go for it. You still have to put in the effort. There's still a lot to play for this season. Furones, what are your thoughts on what remains in the 2024 season for the Dolphins?
Perk, I have been very critical of this team so far. You have been critical Jake Vine has been critical of this team, all deservedly so for this first half and the way it has gone. But I believe this team is on the verge of a turnaround right now, right here, right now, even at 2-6 as they've lost 3 straight and have lost 6 of 7. Now, I contemplated doing a big monologue on this show to go over the top with confidence, go all in, say they're starting a run, even at 2-6, that it gets them into the playoffs, and with how hot they would be at that point to actually win a playoff game for the first time in 24 years. Yep. I'm not going to do all that just for the credibility of the show. The little bit that we have to maintain here, all right? So I'm not going to go doing all that. People would have taken it as a joke, but at the heart of it, I do see it as possible. I understand it's statistically improbable, though, but I feel the offense is really coming together in all aspects. The defense has slipped up the last 2 games, giving up 30 and 28. But with Sealer back and a Kohu return soon, Chubb eventually, I will trust them there. Tyreek Hill says they need to win out. I don't think they do that. But I could see, say, 7-2 down the final 9 games to get to 9-8, be at the mercy of some tiebreaker, and then maybe get in that way. And I think it starts with this week at the Rams on Monday night after the Dolphins showed a lot of signs this past Sunday. So I am here now at the lowest point at 2-6, saying I see it turning around. I don't know if it leads all the way to the postseason from this hole. I won't go saying all that, but the product on the field at least will be consistently better from here on out.
All right. We're going to hold you to that. I hope you're right, by the way, Furones. I hope you're right. It's like we always have more fun covering a winning team than a team that's just kind of around there. So here's hoping you're right. J1364, I see you. Thanks for the birthday wishes. Thanks for the birthday wishes from everybody out there. Sean Heller, I see you. Raphael Courtwright, Chris Comrade checking in from Scotland once again. Peter McDowell. Dude, it was Aiden's birthday on Sunday, a fellow Scorpio. Glad to hear that, Peter. My man from Canada. Saw him at training camp. AV, I see you out there. Matthew Blue, Shape Money, of course, is here. Stephen Jean-Baptiste. Who else have we got in here? Mal B. Crazy, True Talk 101. What's up, Sam? Let's see. Who else is in here? De Jesse? Welcome to everybody. Let's see. What did I want to read here? There was one about Greer that I wanted to read here. AV says, I'm willing to give Greer one more season. I'm accepting the really bad luck in terms of injuries the last 2 years. I feel we're almost there. Our bad luck has to change. This is interesting because Chris Greer is one of the big question marks moving forward, right? That, look, I loved what I saw from Mike McDaniel on Sunday as far as the play calling. Absolutely loved it. I think it was 30 runs and 28 passes. You had a nice balance. You still do need that big play passing game because the big play erases a lot of stink. And, you know, this Dolphins team with the fumbles and the penalties, and they have some stink that needs to be erased. Having said that, I really liked what I saw from Mike McDaniel.
Maybe Mike McDonald. Well, actually, no, maybe not Mike McDonald in Seattle.
Right, exactly.
The Dolphins are about to play.
Yeah. I don't think anybody in Seattle is happy right now after that start and where they are now. But I love what I saw from Mike McDaniel. Using the run and really setting up the pass. That just brilliant. It's what I thought this team needs to be doing. So if he continues down that path, I think you have a real chance to see what you have here as far as offensive diversity and play calling and the ability to keep people off balance. Like, okay, you can look for that Tyreek to Jalen Waddle pass all the time. In the meantime, we're going to hit you with some Achane, and we're going to hit you with some Jonnu Smith, maybe even a little OBJ. We got some Mostert here. We got some Jalen Wright here. We can do other things. I think Mike McDaniel was brilliant in discovering that, or Frank Smith, or whoever is responsible for that. I think that's a real path going forward for this offense. Again, you still do need that big play from Tyreek or from Jalen Waddle, but I think that's something that could make me say, okay, Chris Greer, you can stick around. Most of these Mike McDaniel, I'm having problems here. Mike McDaniel, you can stick around. A lot of your offensive pieces can stick around, but do I trust Chris Grier moving forward? So I think that's a good text. Where are you on Grier? Has your opinion changed on Mike McDaniel? I guess really the last few games when we've seen the running game pick up.
Yeah, so Grier, McDaniel, Grier created this core, and I think the Dolphins need to see it through, and then any decisions there would come after this core has run its course. So I do see, I agree with the franchise's philosophy of you're not sellers because you're 2-6 at the deadline.
Yeah.
Maybe you go for a small move. You're kind of tied as far as just salary cap wise with all the contracts you've given out, and that's also part of the reason why you are committed to the core as you have it. And you're always falling back on that. The first half of this season was thrown awry because of Tua Tagovailoa's IR stint for a concussion, missing out on him for 4 games, losing 3 of those 4. So obviously, you fall back on that. They've lost the last 2 since he returned under different circumstances. But, consistent with what I was saying, I do see a turnaround. Maybe it doesn't lead all the way to the playoffs, but, yes, I do agree with you either stand pat or add a piece or 2. Maybe you can offload one piece that I think of Javon Holland, who, if you're not going to re-sign him, maybe you get something for him. Maybe in a separate move, you get another safety to bring in that maybe could be replacement level. I mean, you're still not Javon Holland has been injured 2 of the last 3 games, missing another portion of the Patriots game between hand and knee injuries. That's the other problem there, though, is that he doesn't have value at this exact point in time because he has these injuries he's been dealt with. So I thought about do you do Calais Campbell a solid and approach him and ask, would you at 38 years old prefer to go to a team in better position to contend this year, understanding, we're going for it here, but we understand the probability, even if we do have a turnaround here, and speaking as if you're the Dolphins approaching Calais, then maybe go that route if he would like to be with a team that has a better shot this year. But I agree. You committed to this core with Tyreek Hill at 30 this year, Jalen Ramsey at 29, the guaranteed money going to these players, the contracts, Tua being signed to his extension this offseason, Jalen Waddle also, Mike McDaniel getting extended as coach. So you're committed to it. And I also like what I've seen out of McDaniel of late. That was a finely coached and play-called game against Buffalo. Mm-hmm. So all reasons why I do see a potential turnaround. Just will it lead to anything this year? Maybe, maybe not. But even then, if you just miss the playoffs but have a lot of positive momentum, it still builds a lot toward next season when you have another year with this core. And then if something happens again, then you're really looking at some big wholesale changes probably.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation because, you do want to believe that there is a lot of hope here and I mean for the future, not just for this year, because look, next year you're going to get Chubb and Phillips back. Now, I don't expect both of them are going to be 100%, but you're going to get one of them back at 100%, I think. Maybe the other one only gets to 75%. I don't know. I think it's kind of unrealistic to think both are going to get back to 100%. I might be wrong. I'm just trying to be more realistic. But I think you do have a good amount of talent coming back. But Furones, the thing is, I've got to see something different at the end of this year. And I'm starting to see it with Mike McDaniel's play calling. But I've still got to see this team. I've got to see them make some kind of a move, do something. You got to beat the Rams, or you got to beat Green Bay, or you got to beat Houston, or you got to beat San Francisco. I want to see a sign of life, a sign of fight, a sign that this thing is trending in the right direction. Because, look, quite honestly, so far, I have not seen that. The Dolphins are still losing the road games. They're still losing to the big teams. I'm hoping that we're seeing a change in philosophy, and the result will change along with that change of philosophy. So I'm really looking at the rest of this year as go for it, try to make the playoffs, but also with an eye on the future. What do we have moving forward? And really, this is still going to be a kind of a tryout for everybody. I mean, you know, whether it's Chris Greer or Mike McDaniel, I mean, you know, Mike McDaniels, he's going to stay. It would be extreme for him to go. It would be extreme for Tua to go, or Waddle or Tyreek. But there's still a lot of other guys that you want to see what you've got. Jalen Wright atop that list for me. Raheem is probably not going to be here next year, so I want to see what I've got in Jalen Wright. Do I need to go out and shop for another big running back, or is this the guy who can carry most of the mail for me? And what do I have at linebacker? Is David Long going to come back? What do I have at for depth at corner, right? Or Cam Smith and Ethan Bonner and Storm Duck, are they enough? I do want answers to all of those questions. So I do think that I'm going to be looking at the future as well as the present when I look at the rest of this year.
Perk, I feel so many similarities to this same point in the 2021 season when the Dolphins started 1-7 that year. This team is 2-6, but there was Tua missing some time early in the year. He missed some games. Dolphins lost those. There was a home loss against an NFC team in a shootout by a last-second field goal. That year, it was the Falcons, Young Wei Koo kicking a last-second field goal. This time, it was the Arizona Cardinals. Tua playing a fine game, but then the defense sort of losing a high-scoring game, giving up the drive at the end, followed by the very next week, a game at Buffalo. That year, it was on Halloween, and it was a hard-fought game. Now, that year, the Bills pulled away in the fourth quarter. This time, it was neck and neck up until the final seconds, and the Bills won on a 61-yard field goal. You know, kudos to Tyler Bass and any kicker who can make that kick, although I think win at the back. His back might have helped them with the open end zone on the other side through that tunnel, maybe blowing some wind to assist them. But either way, I remember sitting in that that podium press conference room waiting for Brian Flores that year, more than an hour after that game ended, and at 1-7. It did lead to his firing, even as he reeled off 7 straight wins after that. 8 of 9, just missed the playoffs at 9-8. I don't see Mike McDaniel being fired. And Mike McDaniel did not take as long to get to the post-game press as flowed on that Sunday afternoon in Orchard Park. But I see the trust in the front office for the Dolphins, in the coach right now to keep it going forward. But just the way they turned around after that, and maybe it does lead them to just missing the playoffs again. But I just see a lot of similarities building up, and maybe now on the verge of that turnaround. Although I think McDaniel, assuming this turnaround occurs and it's not just a complete catastrophe at the end of the year, I think he is safe, as opposed to there's a lot of differences in the Brian Flores situation and his communication and collaboration with the organization that ultimately led to his demise and firing that year. But I see the turnaround going from here on out.
All right. Well, I hope you're right, Furones. I hope you're right. All right. Let's move on to segment number 2. This will be very unpopular, and this is here's why Perk blames the Buffalo loss on the offense. And here it is. Yeah, I know it, Furones. This isn't the first time you've heard this. So look.
I didn't know I was joining a fraud today on this show.
That's right. All right. So here we go. Here's my contention here.
I'll hear you out.
Yes, thank you. So, Buffalo Josh Allen has gotten at least 30 points in 5 of the 7 games that they've played against Mike McDaniel coach teams now, right? So you knew coming in, this offense was probably going to have to score 30 to win. Buffalo just put 31 on you in week 2 or week 3 earlier this season, and that was a road game. So you knew you were probably going to have to score 30 or more. The second half possessions for Buffalo, touchdown, field goal. The second half possessions for the Dolphins, lost fumble, field goal, touchdown, and then you have the one play, with the lateral at the end. The lost fumble killed it for you. You can't waste possessions like that. Again, Buffalo goes touchdown, field goal. You cannot lose that fumble. That's pretty much what lost you that game, that this offense has got to come through. You can't keep giving this offense free passes. They've got to score. They've got to outscore Josh Allen. Why can't the Dolphins offense do what the Bills offense does? They score touchdowns. Like, that's what they do. They don't have Stephon Diggs even, and they still manage to score touchdowns. The Dolphins offense is healthy, probably as healthy as it's been in the McDaniel era, right? Like, there's no excuse. Let's stop blaming the defense. This team is built for offensive heroics. McDaniel got the extension. Tyreek, Waddle, Tua. Like, these are the people. I know Jalen Ramsey got an extension, but that's one person. Zach Sealer is out. Cater Kohu is out. Javon Holland is out. You've got Tyreek, Tua, Waddle, Teron, Raheem, Devon, Jalen Wright. Teron Armstead is healthy. This offensive line is playing great. There's no reason for you to lose that game. You've got to outscore Buffalo. That's the bottom line. And you didn't do it. And that's why you lost this game. That I understand the defense has to do its part. I think it did. I did. Listen, you held them to 30 points. I don't mean hell, but that's manageable. That should be enough to win. The offense has to come through. The offense needs to snatch this game away, and it doesn't do that under Mike McDaniel.
Perk, do you hear yourself?
Yeah.
Held them to 30 points? Held them to 30 points? That's not something to be proud of.
Listen, this is Josh Allen. He smokes you. Like, you've got to do better than Josh.
So you just accept that? You even said it in part of what you detailing the second half. You said touchdown, 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 field goal. That's not a second half defensive effort that wins you a game.
It's not. No, it's not. And you have to understand that coming into the game. Like, why would you come into this game thinking our defense is going to stop Josh Allen in a crucial juncture? Like, when has the defense done that? Why would you come into the game thinking that? You've got to come into this game thinking our offense needs to score 35 points.
Well, I think they're separate entities. I mean, you're not just saying, okay, offense, we know Josh Allen is going to kick our butts, and so we have to keep up. You're trying to stop him. And the Dolphins did stop him in the first half. So I think the key more so was halftime adjustments and not getting ahead of what the Bills were adjusting to, because the Dolphins did keep them out of the end zone the whole first half, and it was a 10-6 ball game. So maybe now holding them to 6 points, and granted the Bills did drive, and Keon Coleman had a ball go off his shoulder pad that he dropped, and Jalen Ramsey, good instinctual play to make the pick. He was beat on the route, and the Bills could have been scoring a touchdown on that very play instead of having a turnover. And now the offense goes 97 yards on that touchdown. So you're not mentioning that, how effective the offense was against a strong Bills defense, who, by the way, consistently has had the Bills defense has also had the Dolphins offense's number over the course of time. You know, it's not like the Dolphins haven't won shootouts against them. They stayed close in one shootout in
Right.
Buffalo.
Right.
And then, like the playoff game that year, then Zach Sealer had a defensive score. Josh Allen had some turnovers. Now, maybe you needed to force some turnovers on Josh Allen. That also lies on the defense. The one turnover you did get, you got lucky that a receiver dropped the pass. Anthony Weaver emphasized getting the ball out on Josh Allen, and they didn't force a fumble against him. Allen is throwing fewer interceptions this year. He only had one going in, and this one wasn't really his fault. Now, maybe Weaver shouldn't have offered the bulletin board material to say it, but I think it's no secret. I think the Bills and Josh Allen know every team is going for the ball against them because they know his propensity to fumble. But yes, the Dolphins defense had a difficult task against Josh Allen. Although the Bills offense doesn't have Diggs anymore, and they didn't have Amari Cooper, their new acquisition at wide receiver, for this game. But yeah, you were without Sealer, you're without Kohu, Javon Holland was out. You still don't have Chubb, and Phillips is out for the season. So that's 5 starters in a nickel package that you're missing there. But still, I mean, after you held them in the first half, so you should have at least gotten one stop. I know the lost fumble, maybe you look at that, and that's the one time the Dolphins offense didn't score. But the Dolphins defense could have just gotten one stop in the second, just one stop in the second half. And that leads to a victory in regulation too.
No, I hear you, but this defense does not stop Josh Allen. And look, as you said, that Ramsey interception.
They did it in the first half.
Yeah, but the Ramsey intercept, they got fortunate. You're not gonna. You pretty much have to win scoring.
Not just that drive too.
Yeah, but you listen. You also got lucky on that. Josh Allen had the touchdown run recalled on that phantom holding, right? Like that. There's
yeah. That was
so that's a 4-point exchange right there. That should have been a touchdown. They settled for a field goal. But my bottom line is this, dude. I cannot count on this defense stopping Josh Allen. I'm not going in with that as my game plan. It's not going to happen. Like you paid all these guys on offense like that. They've got to win this game. We go out here to the text, and Chris says, if you don't think that the defense is going to stop anybody, why even pay your starters? Or why even play your starters? I understand what you're saying, but understand what I'm saying. It would be kind of like, if the Patriots or the Jets came into a Dolphins game and thought, we're going to shut down that offense, and that's how we're going to win. You would look at them and go, are you guys insane? Like, you're not good enough to shut down this offense. So you've got to outscore them. It's kind of like how people are saying, apples to oranges, admittedly, that in college, when you're playing this year, that you've got to take more chances on offense. You've got to go for that fake punt because you aren't going to keep them under 30 points. And if you go into that game thinking, we'll just stop Cam Ward, you're delusional. You're not stopping Cam Ward. You're not stopping Josh Allen. You've got to come up with something else, something better, something more reliable. And for the Dolphins, why can't you outscore Josh Allen? Why? You've got a great offense, supposedly.
Yeah, well, and there have been instances like the game that they did, the only time they've beaten the Bills in the last, is it now 14 games, that a scorcher, week 3, 2022 season at home. Yeah, you won that game. What was the final score? Was it like 22-20 something like that? Or
yeah.
You kept the score low in that one, and Allen
Yes.
didn't mess up throwing the touchdown pass that he had available to him into the dirt. And he ran the clock out with a passing bounce. Couldn't get a snap off when time expired. So, yes, he's a great player. Is he otherworldly that it's just impossible? The last year's regular season finale was a 21-14 final, and that was with Buffalo scoring on special teams.
Yep.
So, yeah, that was just, you held him to 2 touchdowns in that game. So, you can hold him down to a point. I think, 30 points, no matter who you're going against, that's not a winning effort. There's a lot of games where Josh Allen is held under 30, and there's a lot of games where Patrick Mahomes even is held under 30 now. Maybe you don't want to give him the ball for an overtime drive to win it if you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last night. But yeah, at some point you do have to get a stop, because if they score every time on you, then yes, you need to outscore them. But then any one time that you don't come up with points on offense, then you already lost the game if you're just considering that you're never going to get a stop.
Yeah, well, I think you're kind of in that situation against Josh Allen. Jay Beers says no defense has stopped Josh Allen all year. Hooked Up Joe says Josh Allen is the one most likely to stop Josh Allen. I totally agree with Hooked Up Joe on that. And Josh has been outstanding this season. Is he at 15 touchdowns and 1 interception now, I think?
Sorry, say again?
Is Josh Allen at 15 touchdowns and 1 interception now?
Oh, well, he'd have 2 interceptions now.
Oh, 2, yeah, with Ramsey. That's right. Right.
Yeah, came in with 1.
Yeah. How about this, Furones? Pete's Takes says, throw the ball to Penguin and Cheetah, please. Then he says 4 hours left on deadline. Trade this to a guy, Ross. But then he follows by saying we're wasting Cheetah's prime. What do you think about can you force the ball to Tyreek more, or as we've seen these last few weeks, you can run the ball and then maybe pick some spots to throw to Tyreek? What are you seeing? What do you favor, Furones?
Yeah, that's why I'm saying the Dolphins offense had the right idea.
Yes.
in how the Bills were playing them.
Yes.
And, they're giving a lot of attention to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, especially two high safeties, and shading both of them. You have to use the run game, but then also use your other pass-catching options. So that's what the Dolphins did early and often in this game, that it still led to offensive effectiveness. And then once the play was kind of more, once the Bills' game plan was more neutralized, more so they played honest, we'll say, then that's when we were able to get Tyreek Hill the ball. And then Jalen Waddle, his first few targets on the final scoring drive, which ultimately did result in his touchdown. So, I mean, you get the ball to Achane when that's not there. You incorporated Odell Beckham a little bit in this game. Jonnu Smith got some action for sure. So you saw all those things work and in conjunction with the run game. And I think that was the best way to approach this game, the way you wrote about how the Bills' defense historically plays the Dolphins' offense, and they're going to work hard to take away Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Yeah. So work the other things first, and then once you get them to play honest, because that part of it isn't working, that's when you can get Tyreek Hill back into the games. So not necessarily forcing it, because that's how you end up with Tua throwing some interceptions against that defense, trying to force balls where they shouldn't go.
Right, exactly. I can't say enough about how happy I was to see McDaniel call that game. He did a brilliant job, masterful job. That was the Mike McDaniel that, that should have been here since 2022. I know he's a young play caller and all that, but what we saw against Buffalo and what we've seen recently has been masterful. I applaud Mike McDaniel for this. It's been brilliant. It's been absolutely brilliant.
But yet, you blame the offense.
Yes, it's not good enough. Listen, Furones, listen, you have to look at what's going on. Yet, like the run game, you're compiling a bunch of yards, but you can't have the Mostert fumble against Buffalo. You can't have the Ingold and Mostert fumbles at Indy. And look, and Tua can't mishandle a snap against Arizona. Like, we're compiling good numbers here, but if you drill down, this offense is not doing enough. It's not making enough winning plays. So that's where I'm at on that. All right.
You said one thing that was very smart in this segment is that this was going to be an unpopular opinion. That was the segment. So I applaud you for that take. It was spot on.
There we go. It's all. I've usually gotten unpopular opinions, so anyway, I'm used to that. All right, well, let's go to an opinion that's going to be very popular. It is one of the top 4 segments on this 4-segment show, always growing in popularity. It is the Furones bonus.
Oh, the Furones bonus.
I love it. I love it, baby. I love it. All right, so here we are. It is election day for Mr. David Furones. Dolphins mid-season elections. Furones, you pick your categories. You can do it however you want. So what I've got here is MVP. My candidates would be Calais Campbell, Zach Sealer, Devon Achane. Coach of the Year. My candidates would be defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver, offensive line coach Butch Berry, and then the pass game coordinator or cornerbacks coach, right? Matthew Araujo. So I think the secondary.
Give me all of them at once.
I'm going to let you do it. I'm giving mine. Most improved candidates, I've got Robert Jones, Liam Eichenberg, Austin Jackson. And then best group on the team candidates, I've got O-line, cornerbacks, offensive tackles, running backs. Furones, give us your mid-season election results for the Miami Dolphins.
Okay, so those are who's on the ballot.
That's who's on my ballot. This is the Furones bonus. This is your ballot. This is your segment.
Okay, and good thing this is when you started with talking about election day, I thought you were going to ask me who I'm voting for, right? But we're not a political program here.
That's right.
We stay neutral in that regard, and we talk Dolphins here.
That's right. Exactly.
All right. The first one was what? Team MVP?
Team MVP.
All right. Perk, it's Tua. His absence was the whole reason.
Are you kidding me?
Tua is the team MVP so far.
Oh, my goodness. All right. This election is over. Like,
Excuse me. I thought this was the Furones bonus.
Go ahead. Oh my goodness.
The whole reason why your first half was sent spiraling downhill, and we're talking about a 2-6 team here. It's tough to find an MVP, Perk. So, it's because you missed him. That showed how valuable he is to this team. Sure, the Dolphins have lost the 2 games since his return, but actually, I'm going to take it back to the IR decision. If the Arizona game was his second game back, I bet he wins that shootout. He's a little bit sharper, like we saw. Like if we saw this Buffalo game Tua in that first Arizona, I think they win that game in a high-scoring affair. Even as the D didn't hold up. Plus, he would have certainly won at Indy in his first game. 16-10 game with Anthony Richardson on the other side. The way that one went, I felt Tua, his first game back, would have won that one. Had the decision simply been made that compromising, maybe negotiating with the medical experts, it said, I believe just said generally he needed time, that maybe 38 days from the day of the concussion was enough as opposed to 45 days when you were so certain he could play on day 45 from day 39, one day after that 38th day. I just thought maybe you could have had him for the Colts game, even if he needed all that time from the concussion, but that's neither here nor there. And I do see this turnaround. Like I said at the beginning, I do see this turnaround. Now that he's healthy, I do see a season turnaround coming. But if that's because I'm saying MVP, it's Tua. If I was saying most outstanding player, like they differentiate in college football, like as opposed to football, I'm going to say Devon Achane there. And if I could go for a defensive player of the year, then I'd give it to Calais Campbell. I'd give it to Campbell. Jalen Ramsey's up there too. It's a tight race. The popular vote might go to Ramsey, but in the Electoral College, I believe Campbell would ultimately get the call, especially he's winning Dade County as the UM Hurricane as opposed to the Florida State Summit. So I think the electoral votes from Miami-Dade County put Calais Campbell over the edge for Defensive Player of the Year. What else we got? Coach of the Year?
We got a Coach of the Year, yep. Coach of the Year.
I'm going with Butch Berry. Offensive line coach. In the past month, he has made it work with this offensive line that on the interior was not invested in by the organization. He has 2 guards that lost out on starting competition at the start of last year and has them playing steady. Remember, Isaiah Wynn beat out both Eichenberg and Robert Jones, your starting guards this year, and you had Robert Hunt on the other side. So you lost Robert Hunt, who earned a lucrative contract with the Carolina Panthers. And you lost Connor Williams at center from last year, 2 very valuable members of the interior offensive line. And this group in October and now into November is playing some great ball, especially run blocking. So what's next? Is it most improved?
Most improved.
Okay. You mentioned some O-line names, right?
Yeah.
I'm giving you Kader Kohou.
Okay.
Last year, his second NFL season was a bit problematic, a bit of a disappointment after he came up as an undrafted rookie the year before and earned so much playing time. So last year, Vic Fangio's scheme wasn't great from him, and he has bounced back in a nice way in Weaver's scheme. His ability to line up both over the slot and on the outside in nickel packages has allowed Jalen Ramsey to move around, so that has made him very valuable to the defense. And I think his absence was it truly showed these past 2 games how important he is, as the secondary was not as effective back there. So what do we got left?
Best group on the team.
Positional group, right?
Yes.
All right. Sticking with that Kohou selection, I will say the cornerbacks, when all healthy. That's why the Dolphins were ranking number 1 in pass defense, number 1 in third down defense. I'm not sure where they are now, but at least before Kohou got hurt 2 games ago. And that's despite not getting home on quarterbacks very often in terms of sacks.
Right.
So the coverage on the back end that's helping you do that with Kohou a part of it when he's there with Ramsey and Kendall Fuller forming the 3 cornerbacks in a nickel package. Storm Duck, when he's healthy, he could be that first one up if someone's hurt. You've been missing him along with Kohou, and it hasn't been as good as of late now with Cam Smith having to get in there and Saran Neal getting some defensive snaps. So you don't want to go that. But when the cornerbacks group is healthy, I am actually giving it to the cornerbacks unit.
All right. I like that. Here's what we're getting on the text. Well, I don't like the Tua thing. I like the others. I like the others. Here's what we're getting on the text line. Peter McDowell says, Abram Brewer, most improved player on the team. Very impressive. His great. What's that?
The team last year. I feel like it has to be a player that returned to the Dolphins. So it's going off of last year's performance with the Dolphins to this year.
That's true. That's a good point. But he says he's very, very impressive in his grades and how he stabilized the line. Let's see. Robert Bush says, I think Jalen Ramsey is the MVP unlocked this year. Let's see here.
I considered that, but then we've also seen him Marvin Harrison Jr. beat him for a touchdown. That was key in the Cardinals game.
Yep.
So, yeah, he had this interception, but also he was beat on the route too. So, but he's made some great plays, been very impactful. That's why it's tight between him and Calais Campbell for my defensive player of the year. But as we know, quarterbacks win MVP.
Yeah. Raphael Courtwright says, my most improved, Mike McDaniel's new hairstyle. What do you think about that?
He thinks it's improved?
So you don't, huh? All right. And Pete's Take says, Perk and Dave should consider Tua switching to Pringles instead of greasy Lay's chips. The fumble is on him. So there's that. There's the throwback to the chips comment. All right, Furones, let us go to our final segment here. And we're keeping this tight because the Dolphins do have a Zoom press conference in a few minutes that we both need to be on. So it is prediction time, Mr. Furones. Dolphins versus Rams, Monday Night Football in L.A. Who you got? I'm letting you go first here.
Okay, let me go first. Well, despite me saying the Dolphins are turning it around, no, I'm kidding. The Dolphins to lose. You have the Dolphins winning 27-24 in dramatic fashion in overtime. It's a good game. So fortunes start to flip. It's going to be another hard-fought game because the Rams are also rolling a bit right now, and they just came off a dramatic victory in overtime against the Seahawks.
Yep.
I think the Dolphins, with some of the positive momentum they're building, but still losing this game, they come out big to win this game. But still, the Rams are there. They're hanging tough, and the Rams have been a different monster now that they have their receivers back. So I do see it tight. It's going to be very contested. It's tough going all the way across the country in prime time, but I see the Dolphins winning it. The fortunes flip. They win on a field goal in overtime as opposed to the last two games, them losing on a late field goal. And then this is a sort of a dramatic victory that starts getting the ball rolling for them. They return home for a couple home games against some of the lesser teams in the AFC and the Raiders and the Patriots. And then you start to feel it building with a chance to then get to 500 at the end of November when they go at Green Bay, which will be a big test.
Wow. By the way, let me point out, I've got on my Jason Jenkins shirt here for the for our charity work that we did in the name of Jason Jenkins last week, helping the Dolphins and Jason Jenkins Foundation pack some food for the needy. So I want to throw a shout out to Jason Jenkins and his memory.
So with that in mind.
Yeah, right, yeah, I know. That's not a good segue because Jason would not approve of my pick here. I am going Rams 24, Dolphins 21. I see the same problems with the road. The Dolphins can't beat good teams on the road. The Dolphins have problems winning prime time games under Mike McDaniel. The Dolphins have problems winning games against teams that are 500 or above. I think they give a valiant effort here. I think the run game gets going or continues to go. I see good things here for the Dolphins, but I just can't see them shedding this road thing that's been on their back since Mike McDaniel took over. I think they're 8-15 on the road now under Mike McDaniel. And good teams, you want to go 500 on the road. If you're a great team, you'll go better than that. But really, if you're a good team, you want to go 500. I think the Dolphins are at like 33% on the road or something like that. So I am going with the Rams. Furones is going with the Dolphins. That is our show for today. We'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. Sorry, we have to cut this short. You know, I'm a guy who likes to go over an hour, but we're going to keep this one around 45 minutes. We appreciate it. Join us next week, Tuesday at noon, sunsentinel.com for Dolphins Deep Dive with Perkins.